For those of you who are doing it for the very first time, Aqua farming is a program that brings you all you need to know about what is found in the water. Talking about the living organisms in the water, fish, grass, or whatever it is that is in the water is what we talk about. Today we have to go into the news of Abuja to find someone who's going to be talking something very, very interesting and important when it comes to fisheries. We have in the studio Olufemi Akinyi, who is actually a fish expert. Olufemi, good morning and welcome to it and
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Alright. Well, today on the program we're talking about sustainable fisheries. So for those of you who really want to know what it takes to sustain fisheries in general, rest assured that we have someone who's going to be telling an expert you all you need to know. Mr. Olufemi again, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Please, in general, what is sustainable fisheries?
All right. So, sustainable fisheries. Okay, for me to talk about sustainable fisheries, I would first like to talk about. Let me break it down.
Okay.
Let me talk about fisheries. You know, fisheries is any of the human activities that involve harvesting, capturing, or culturing of organisms inside water. And these fisheries can still be divided into capture fisheries or culture fisheries. I don't know if you understand what I mean by capture fisheries. Capture fisheries,
Okay,
that has to do with removing fish or aquatic organisms from the wild. When I say wild, I mean like the ocean. We were not the one that put the fish there. Or the rivers, we were not the one that put the fish, the organisms there. So that is, we are capturing the fish. So that is capture fisheries. Now there's also culture fisheries. That's the one that we are rearing. These are the one we rear. So and that is where aquaculture falls.
Wow.
Now, so when we now talk about sustainable fisheries, we are talking about the practices, methods that we apply to minimize environmental and social impact. To minimize those the negative impact. The methods we apply so as to ensure that those organisms do not go into extinction.
Okay.
And to ensure that there is continuity of the life in the water.
Okay.
So that is sustainable fisheries.
Wow. Interesting. So now, in general, are you saying if we don't practice sustainable fisheries, we might end up not having some fish in extinction, like the ones in the captured fisheries?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. How is that possible? Seeing that the ocean is big and wide, and
Yes. So, first of all, we also need to first realize that even these fisheries that we are talking about, it is first the commandment of God. If you look at Genesis chapter 1 verse 26, you see the Bible talking about and God saying, let us create man in our image. And the next statement is that let him have dominion over the fish of the... So you discover that it's the commandment of God. Now, what is the dominion we should have? We are not to destroy it. So it is to manage it properly. Even though he has given us as food, we are not to destroy it. So we should ensure continuity. Now, you ask that, is extinction possible if these resources are not properly managed? Of course. Of course. For example, let us take a river as an example. It only takes a chemical for all this life in a river to be wiped off. You can imagine if we have a chemical whose an industry whose waste is a chemical, and they don't manage this waste properly. They dispose the waste inside the river, not minding the organism inside the water. What happened to everything?
They die.
They die. So if we don't manage these resources properly, it is possible they go into extinction.
Okay, in your own opinion, according to how you're talking now, is that we are supposed to manage the fishes we have even in the capture fisheries.
Yes.
So now, what fish is right for me to consume in the capture world?
What species of fish is right for you to consume? As many as are edible. For example,
not species per se.
Okay.
What I'm saying is, what will make a fish now that is okay for me to consume, so that will not make them to extinct? That is to say, of what age, or is there a fish I'm supposed to catch in the river to return back?
Okay.
Or
Okay.
I'm supposed to, you know, like in Nigeria, no fish is small, and
Exactly. So those are the practices.
Okay.
Those are the practices to ensure the continuity of these organisms. Like what you just pointed to now, you are talking about size selectivity.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is a particular measure we introduce to ensure that is the mesh size. We introduce certain mesh size. So if you are getting a license to go for that, you want to be capturing, let's say you get a license to go for clupits, or let me use tilapia, which should be common as an example here. There's a particular mesh size you must use. If you are using that mesh size, if you focus on that mesh size, is in millimeters. So they can give you, use 4 millimeters, or you cannot use less than 8 millimeters for this species. And then, by the time you start year 1, you start capturing in a particular water body, you are having enough harvest. Second year is reducing, third year, and then by the time you discover that, you seem not to be having enough, and then you now reduce from that, like the example I gave, 8 millimeter to 1 millimeter.
Okay.
The reason for the 8 millimeter is that by the time you are capturing the fish, anyone that is smaller than that mesh size will escape.
Will not pass through. Okay.
We escape. So you can only catch the big ones. But by the time you now flaunt the rule and then you jump to using small mesh size, you pack even the young ones that are yet to reach the maturity stage. The reason we are saying they should reach the maturity stage is so as to allow them to be able to reproduce.
Okay. That's the point.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, now that takes us to our next question, which is, what is the relationship between aquaculture and sustainable fisheries?
Yes, thank you. Like I said, sustainable fisheries aims to ensure continuity of the resources in that environment, which is water. Now, imagine species like the common one we have in Nigeria, which is, if you go to any market now, say you want to buy fresh fish, what first comes to their mind is what? The catfish, the Clarias garipinos, Heterobranchus bidosalis, or whatever species you have of the catfish. Imagine we focus on all that we have in our inland waters. When I say inland waters, I mean the rivers, the lakes, the streams, because that particular species is not a species you can find in the ocean. It's the freshwater species. It's not salt loving. Now imagine going for that species. Everything we want to consume in Nigeria alone, we are going to the stream to bring to harvest. With the way people are buying in Nigeria, we will soon have nothing left in the river.
Yeah, true.
And for the sake of that one, aquaculture is a practice on its own to ensure continuity of that species, so that now we have studied the biology of the fish. We have studied everything that we need to know about this fish. Oh, this fish is actually not salt loving. Oh, this is it. Oh, this is how to even the eggs. Oh, there's milk, that is the sperm inside the male. Okay, how do we bring them together to now reproduce, so that our effort on the wild stocks will be limited. Do you understand now? Yes, so aquaculture is actually a practice to ensure continuity of species from the wild. We did not create those species in a confinement. We actually bring the species from the wild. For example, if we say lobsters now, oh, maybe an assumption now that the number of lobsters we have in the wild has depleted. The stock has depleted. What do we do so that we do not consume the rest and ensure that and see to it that they die? They go into extinction. What we do is that we have to introduce aquaculture so that we can multiply them and then reduce the pressure on the wild stock. So that is the relationship between aquaculture and sustainable fisheries.
Okay.
So aquaculture is a tool used to ensure the sustainability of our fisheries.
Okay. Continuity, or rather to make sure fishes are not in extinction, seems to be the core values of sustainable fisheries.
Yes.
So now, is there any fish that is out of extinction right now, as we speak?
That is
generally.
That have gone into extinction. I can point to species that are already endangered.
Okay, endangered, but
endangered.
Not totally out. Okay, what are those species basically?
For example, dolphin.
Yeah, dolphin, true.
Dolphin is a species that is already endangered.
Is dolphin a fish? Or what?
Well, the dolphin get to be classified as mammals, however, they are aquatic organisms.
Sure.
Aquaculture does not have to do with the term like fish, catfish, tilapia alone. Even every organism you find inside water, including plants. There are people who feed on seaweeds. There are plants that grow inside water and people consume. So for you to have enough to be eaten, what do? You go into the farming of that inside the water. As long as the activity is taking place inside water, that is aquaculture. So dolphin, as an example, unfortunately you still see some artisanal fishermen in Nigeria who go ahead and then they see dolphin and then kill, and then they are celebrating, and then they are taking pictures. I think we need to do a lot of awareness regarding the issue of this endangered species. So there are species that are already endangered and should not be targeted.
Before we go on a break, I want to talk about fish being endangered. I realized there was a fish that was caught sometime in Cross River State. They say it's a blue whale, and that is highly demanded in the EU. Is it really possible to have such kind of fishes in Nigerian terrain?
Yes.
I'm sure you must have heard that story then, the blue whale issue, where someone caught it and then later on realized that they are really looking for it somewhere in the US that will amount to millions of naira. Meanwhile, someone just used it to eat, and in fact they did pepper soup with it. And is that kind of...
Yes. Actually, currently I do not have the current data on blue whale, but it is possible. Definitely, we have them in our coastal water. That is, our boundary that's from Lagos to Calabar, and then 200 nautical miles inside the ocean. So it's still Nigerian territories where we can have all these species. So for the blue whale, I don't know if it has been listed as an endangered species that shouldn't even be caught. But like I said, our local fishermen, many of them are even unaware about, are these species endangered or not. Whatever they see, they kill.
Wow. Whatever they see, they kill. According to the words of Olufemi Akini, a fisheries expert, where we're talking about sustainable fisheries right here on your first agricultural TV station in Nigeria, here in the capital city of Nigeria. And of course, the program has been Aqua Farming. Let's go on a quick break. When we return, the rest of the show will be talking more about sustainable fisheries. Stay tuned. Well, that was now, Mr. Femi, a typical Nigerian now who wants to go into sustainable fisheries, what are the first do's and don'ts so that they can be able, so we can all key into your idea as an expert who believes if we really do not go into sustainable fisheries, we might end up not even having fishes on our soups or some other that. What can we do to actually sustain fisheries?
All right, thank you. So, irrespective of the departments you belong to, either it is in capture fisheries or in culture fisheries, you just have to be sustainability conscious.
Okay.
So if you are into capture fisheries, there are do's and don'ts. There are things you should do and there are things you should not do. For example, the use of, for those in capture fisheries, you know already that you shouldn't use chemicals to fish. It was a practice maybe in the time of old, which there has been campaign against that. You shouldn't do that. For example, there's this chemical Gamma 20 that they use. When you want to fish, you just go and then you pour it. Before you know it, all the fish will be floating. Will be floating. So it should not be done. So when you do that, you are only destroying our environment. Actually, it is not only the species you are targeting that will die. Are there frogs in the water? They will die. Are there snails around the water? They will die. So that is one of the things you should not do. Now, I explained the matter of mesh size selectivity the other time. It's something that you should not do as well. Don't use too little mesh size, even for species that you know that this species can actually grow to this stage. They can grow as big as, let's say, 30 centimeter or 60 centimeter or bigger, and then you are using a little mesh size. That can only destroy the environment. So another thing that's okay. For example, those into industrial fisheries, that is capturing from the wild a lot. There's this thing you now find in their as part of their trawlers. We call it the turtle excluding device. Okay. For example, turtle. You know, imagine when you say when your trawler is going and then you are capturing all the species. You cannot say, oh, this species don't enter, that species don't enter.
It goes with everyone.
You goes fine. You know, okay, when you sight a school of fish using all the technology, sonar and the like that, you can, oh, this is this particular school of fish that is moving, and then you go after them, and then you are trawling. That is dragging your net inside the ocean, and then you are going. Turtle will be caught, even though the majority of the species you are catching may be that your target species, but turtle want to enter. So there's this device we call the turtle excluding device. There's a way they now fix it with their net, so that by the time the turtle get there, the turtle will not enter with it because it's bigger than those species, and then you just find its way out. So those are some of the practices. Now, in the aquaculture sector, there are other things. Even in aquaculture, I told you that aquaculture is a tool, even to ensure sustainable fisheries, right? Now, inside aquaculture, there are practices as well to ensure sustainability.
Like what?
And we call those practices, that's what we call the best practices.
Okay, best practices.
Best practices. And so one of them is, responsible feed management to reduce waste and optimize nutrition.
Okay.
You need to, manage your feed. You cannot afford waste.
But this is only applicable to cultural fisheries.
Yes, in the capture fisheries, you don't feed them.
You don't?
It's not your business without the heat. All the Sardinella heba, sardine, or whatever species we go to buy, we just go to the ocean to pack them. We don't know how they eat. We know how they eat, but we are not the one giving them the food. Let me put it that way. But I'm talking about aquaculture now, where we are responsible for what they eat.
Okay.
So one of the things you ensure is you have to ensure a responsible feed management. Also, site selection.
Okay. Site selection.
Site selection is another thing to focus on. You don't want to site your farm in a place where, imagine somebody who wants to site a farm and then they're siting in a community where they don't have water in the community. All that they depend on is this water in this stream to drink, to cook, to do everything. And then you now site your farm, competing with that little resources that they have. Or you want to, another aspect where you have to consider your site is, what if, or you want to site your fish farm and then you are siting your fish farm close to like a pharmaceutical company. Maybe it has some waste and then they just dump their waste maybe on the ground, on the land or anything, but when rain falls, it washes that chemical into your water source. So those are the part of the things you need to consider. Another one is, monitoring and control of water quality to prevent pollution. Water quality is a major practice.
Okay.
You need to ensure, when you talk about water quality, you are talking about the physical aspect, the chemical aspect, and also the biological aspect. When you talk about physical quality, that involves like the transparency of the water and the temperature of the water. All those ones are physical. Chemical, oxygen level in the water, and the likes. Biological are the organisms. For example, the zooplankton, the phytoplanktons, and the likes. All those ones, they have their measures. There are species of fish where when you are culturing, you are saying, the soft oxygen level should not be less than 5 milligrams per liter because they demand a lot of oxygen. Especially if you are dealing with species like tilapia. They require oxygen a lot because once they are out of water, they are likely to die. Unlike catfish, that can still do with little oxygen. Oxygen is also needed. But even when they are out of water, they can still survive for some time. So those are the practices you need to ensure that you understand, so that this business, these efforts can continue.
Wow. That's quite interesting. Well, now let's talk about the modern, the hybrid fish. Now, there are some hybrid fish that are now out. You see them quite big and massive.
Yes.
They tell you the months in which are those fish healthy for
I don't know what you mean by.
No, seeing that probably maybe their production would have cost more chemical.
Okay. Yes. Thank you so much. Actually, that is one of the measures. So one of the things we talk about when we are talking about best practices. When you say hybrid, you may be talking about. It may mean, oh, we are crossing this species with this species to give us a particular species.
Okay.
For example, people cross Clarias species and Heterobranchus. They look alike, but Clarias is the normal catfish that is common in the market. And the Heterobranchus, for example, if you take a 50 naira note, somebody is holding a fish.
Yeah.
That particular species, Heterobranchus,
Okay.
is big. It's different. You can differentiate it from the normal Clarias, Garipinus, or Clarias species with the adipose fin. There's a fat fin close to the caudal fin around the dorsal area.
Okay.
So, crossing the two together will give you another that we call, it is called Heteroclarias,
Okay.
which is very good. But when using chemical to now aid the size,
Yes.
the growth of your fish,
Yeah.
is one of the bad practices that we discourage when we are talking about sustainable practices, sustainable aquaculture, because those chemicals can be harmful to the consumers. You can eat it today, and then because you did not die today, you did not know, and in years to come, the cancer may develop.
Yeah.
It will now be difficult to trace it to where
it came from.
you understand. So, use of chemical, use of harmful chemicals are not allowed.
Okay. All right. Use of harmful chemical are not allowed. That was the last word of Mr. Olufemi Akinyi. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you so much.
Hope to see you more on our program right here on our station. Well, on that note, we come to the end of this episode of the program Aqua Farming, where we talked about sustainable fisheries again with Olufemi Akinyi, a fish expert, and of course, where he talked to you about how you can actually play your own part in making sure some fishes do not go into extinct. Believe me, I've learned one or two that I also relate to other people. Do that as well, so we can actually have fishes in our pot for maybe ever. On that note, we say goodbye. See you some other time. Bye for now.